What happens when a retired Special Forces soldier tries to set up a Mexican drug lord? Even after getting beaten up, Mike clings tightly to Tuco, because his goal is to wait for the police to come and arrest Tuco. But why does Mike do this? The story goes back a few days. In the last episode, Mike helped Price recover stolen baseball cards and earned $10,000. He made this money solely to take care of his daughter-in-law and granddaughter, and he handed it over to his daughter-in-law without hesitation. Although the daughter-in-law expressed gratitude on the surface, the careful Mike saw at a glance that the daughter-in-law was worried. The frightened daughter-in-law said that she heard gunshots last night and was so scared that she didn't sleep all night. Mike asked her if she had called the police, and Stacy said that it would be useless even if the police came. Hearing this, Mike decided to stay here tonight to protect her, but Stacy insisted that it was not necessary. In desperation, Mike had to secretly protect them in the car at night, although a suspicious vehicle appeared behind him at night. But later it was found that it was a newspaper delivery vehicle. The next morning, Mike left with peace of mind after seeing his neighbor get the newspaper. He did not hear the gunshots that his daughter-in-law Stacy said. However, when he just arrived at the workplace, his daughter-in-law called and said that there was an emergency and asked Mike to come over. When Mike arrived at his daughter-in-law's house, Stacy took Mike to look at the gap in her wall and said that she heard gunshots again at night. He thought the marks on the wall were enough to prove his lie. Little did he know that Mike stayed outside the house for the whole night. Now Mike knew why he didn't let him stay at night, because he wanted to cover up his lie. But Mike didn't expose him, and he also saw that his purpose was to change a better house. Out of his son's debt to them, Mike promised to let them move to a better house as soon as possible. After hearing that his goal was achieved, Stacy was willing to leave. Poor old Mike was bitten hard by his selfish daughter, and the scene changed. On the surface, Mike was just taking his pet dog to the vet, but in reality, he was hoping the vet could hook him up with a high-risk, high-reward job. At that moment, the vet could only offer him a bodyguard job for $200. Although the pay was far from his goal, Mike didn't refuse it. After all, having a job was better than having none. But to Mike's surprise that evening, the vet arranged a high-paying task for him on short notice, and the client specifically requested Mike for the job. Hearing this, Mike, who was short of money, immediately rushed to the agreed location. The person who came was none other than Nai Chiao. He said that he was in trouble and needed Mike's help to kill Tuku. The next day, Nai Chiao told Mike his detailed assassination plan, including the specific details of himself and Tuku collecting debts. But Mike soon found a loophole in his plan and asked Nai Chiao why he was determined to kill his accomplice. Nai Chiao explained that Tuku was a lunatic. Especially after using drugs, he becomes even crazier. If he has even the slightest doubt about his companions, he won't hesitate to kill them. He pulled open his collar and said that there was a guy who was suspected by Tuku, and he was shot in the head by him. Because he stood too close, the fragments of the guy's skull pierced his flesh. If Tuku didn't die, he would sooner or later know his second job outside, and then it would be his death. Therefore, Nai Chiao wanted to get rid of Tuku as soon as possible. Hearing this, Mike felt that it would be safer to assassinate by sniping. Based on the previous fights, Nai Chiao believed that Mike had the ability to do it. Mike asked for $50,000, and Nai Chiao readily agreed. Then Mike found an arms dealer to choose weapons, but after choosing for a long time, Mike didn't find it suitable. He decided to change his mind and not bring a gun this time. To apologize, Mike was willing to pay the other party for the errand, but was decisively rejected by the other party. He said that he was doing repeat business and needed to contact him next time. Mike contacted Nacho again and said that killing Tuku would not solve Nacho's fundamental problem. If Tuku died, the Salamanca family would definitely investigate this matter, and at that point, both you and I would likely be in deep trouble. Mike thought of a more compromising solution that wouldn't involve killing Tuco, but would allow him to distance himself from Nacho. The scene shifts to a shiny new sports car parked outside a snack shop, which belonged to Tuco, who was inside collecting debts. After a little chaos, Tuco pulled out a small bag of art pieces and took a small taste with his pinky, setting the stage for his later reckless actions. Seeing the opportunity, Mike made an anonymous call to the police. He claimed he saw someone threatening another person with a gun, as if it were a gang dispute, and provided the specific address to the police. After saying that, he hung up the phone and wiped away all his fingerprints. Then, he drove the second-hand car he bought from a local classified site and began his act. He arrived at the snack shop, and as he was parking, he accidentally scraped Tuco's beloved car. Tuco, who had been watching his car, immediately erupted in anger. Pretending nothing had happened, Mike walked into the shop to buy a snack, and at that moment, Tuco approached him. He reminded Mike that he had hit his car. Mike pretended that he didn't know, and Nai Chiao also came up to help Tuku. Seeing that both of them were accusing him, Mike had to apologize for it, but he didn't mean to deal with it. When he paid the bill, he deliberately let Tuku see that there was a lot of cash in his wallet, just to make Tuku think that he wanted him to claim compensation. When Mike came out of the store, Tuku Nai Chiao followed closely and scolded Mike to stop Tuku, let him see the paint that was knocked off, and said that if he didn't deal with it, he wouldn't be able to leave today. Hearing this, Mike told Tuco to find a pen to leave his contact information, saying he would let the insurance company handle it. Tuco insisted on cash because he knew the old man had money in his wallet. He demanded Mike hand over his wallet, but Mike firmly refused. Seeing that the old man was stubborn, Tuco had no choice but to pull out his gun. Realizing Tuco was serious, Mike reluctantly took out his wallet, and Tuco snatched it away. After a closer look, there were $400 in it. This was enough to repair the car. At this moment, Nai Chiao heard the sound of police sirens in the distance. He advised Tuco to leave quickly, but Tuco was still not satisfied. He asked Nai Chiao to take the money and leave first, and he would have a good chat with the old man who didn't know the real man. Seeing this, Nikiao hurriedly ran away. Tuku, who got the money, didn't intend to pester him anymore, saying that if the police were not coming, he would definitely teach him a lesson today. However, when the butcher was about to leave, he was grabbed by Mike. Tuku threatened with a gun, but Mike knocked him to the ground. Seeing the sirens getting closer and closer, Tuku tried to make himself sick by beating him violently. But he still underestimated the old man's ability to take a beating. So, Mike ended up getting beaten up badly without fighting back, just holding on until the police arrived to catch them in the act. Later that night, looking like a wreck, Mike met with Nacho. Since the police witnessed the whole incident, and Tuco had Mike's wallet and the gun on the ground with Tuco's fingerprints, that was enough to land him in prison for a few years. Because Mike chose not to kill Tuco, he only received $25,000 as payment. Nacho questioned Mike why he went through all this trouble to set up Tuco, and ended up like this when he could have easily gotten $50,000 and eliminated a piece of trash. Mike looked at Nacho with his one good eye but didn't give him the answer he wanted. So, what do you think made Mike change his mind?